Grant Cardone here. Welcome to Power Players. Every week, it is my goal to bring to you somebody generous enough, experienced enough, and with the intelligence that can put you into power. Today, I have a guy that's unbelievable. What he has done is, and if you haven't heard of him, man, David Brier, branding expert. You're going to be branding at some point in your life. He's a chief gravity defyer. We'll be talking about that. His website is risingabovethenoise.com. Before I do the whole intro, if you go to risingabovethenoise.com, risingabovethenoise.com, you can get a free ebook there. David, maybe we'll even set it up to where people can just get it here.
Yeah.
We'll figure that out. David is a recipient. That's a free ebook, by the way, folks, okay, on branding, and this is his specialty. David's a recipient of over 300 industry awards, a native New Yorker, specialist, branding specialist, author, speaker, something. They got down here that you're a coffee enthusiastic and a chocolate whisperer. Love that, love that. Look, I'll eat chocolate 24 hours a day if you let me. David's solutions for branding, okay, is gonna literally revolutionize the way you think about it. I have found that most people don't even know what it means. I don't know that I know what it means, so I was really excited to have David on the show today to talk about how he could help you become an expert in your place, in your spot. He's worked for companies like New York Times, right, David?
Yep.
Who else?
Rolling Stone, Estee Lauder, Revlon, as well as a bunch of startups and entrepreneurs. I literally have worked from global brands to smaller brands, as well as branding cities.
Yeah, Daymond John says David Brier is brilliant with branding. David, welcome to Power Players, man.
Thank you very much for having me, Brent.
So let's talk about, David, I mean, let's talk first about what is branding, and then I want to back up and then start with your life and talk about how you became this expert. But what is branding, first of all?
All right, well, here's the deal. The basic thing is that we exist in a world today where there's lots of noise, right? There's distractions, there's tweets, there's phone calls, there's advertisements. You can't, it used to be you could just go to a movie in a movie theater. Now you spend 15 minutes seeing commercials. And so the thing is we're bombarded everywhere. The noise level is very, very high. So what happens is that when you or I or anybody is pitching a product or a service, we kind of are entering in a very, very noisy place. Mm-hmm. And so what occurs is we need to have a product or service that actually rises above, that actually is seen as different, not the same as. 99% of the products and services out there, they're seen as the same as, or, oh, that's just like blah, 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 or seen as a copycat. And if you're seen as a commodity, you cannot command price. People are basically going to say, oh, well, which one's cheaper, blah, 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 blah. So what happens is we're talking about this element of differentiation. You and I, when we see something, unless we are moved up from the point of, oh, that's the same as everything, where it's just a commodity, and it actually, unless it's moved up to the point of differentiation, we don't really basically give a damn. Mm-hmm. I've literally raised millions of dollars for organizations that I support by that one principle alone. So branding comes to a four-word definition. Independent of the over 6,000 books you'll find on branding, it comes down to it is the art of differentiation. That is what it is. Because some people think, oh, branding, I'm going to get a logo. That's branding. Or, oh, we're going to make our stuff look nice.
Yeah, and I think that's what most people think. They think, oh, I'm going to get a business card. They spend all this time and money on logos. I'm like, I don't even know why you're spending all this time on a logo.
Yeah. The bottom line is anything that contributes to branding, to basically differentiating a company or an organization is exactly that. That is part of branding. So sometimes it's going to be the language, how we talk about ourselves, how we present ourselves, how we actually present our images, because there's too much of the same stuff, the same look, the same vibe, all of that.
So Daymond John, let's just take, because that name came up.
Yep.
You know, the thing I think about him is the whole thing going on with his dress. I mean, he's really done that to different. Is that a branding move on his part?
Absolutely. Well, he's all about fashion and statement, and he's about presentation. Yeah. He knows the importance of that, and you don't get Daymond confused with any of the other sharks.
Right. And then I kind of lose it, down to the end. Robert, I'm not sure exactly who Robert is. I get a little lost in his brand, so I would expect he's not going to command the kind of pricing or opportunities. Is that fair to say?
Well, I mean, it depends on his audience. Put it this way. If everybody in his audience, let's say in his field, let's say everybody are a bunch of rebel, renegade crazy people who are like with body tats and all kinds of stuff like this. And he comes along and he's in good shape. He always takes care of himself. He's in very, very good physical shape. And he's just like right there. And he's just, real straightforward. Maybe in that environment, that is his form of differentiation.
Right.
I don't know his exact space well enough to know, but it's a matter of if you or I are doing the same thing and we're just trying to scream louder and scream harder than everybody else, yet we're saying the same words and the same promises and the same pitches.
Yeah.
That ain't it.
So we see this right now in the GOP debates.
Totally.
Right. So you got 15 guys that all sound the same story, same pitch. I'm going to help you. I'm going to save the middle class. And then one guy saying something different.
That's right.
How would those other 15 now, like if you were going to give somebody branding advice, what would you tell a Rubio?
I would say stop talking like a politician and start talking like a person who gives a damn.
Uh-huh.
Very interesting.
But how do they do that? How do they do that? I mean, that's really... So you're saying politicians have branded themselves because so many of them play in the same game as people that can't get the job done?
You got it. They're all playing the same game. They're all divisive. They've all forgotten one fundamental thing. It's like, how about the country and its citizens are the ones that need to be served and actually are the ones that are important here, not I'm this party or I'm that party. That's unimportant. What's important is you and me as citizens and actually having our rights and our freedom to be able to thrive, survive, and come to this. This is a land of freedom. It was built on an entrepreneurial spirit.
Even America has its own brand. Folks, you're listening to David Brier. He's a branding expert, okay? He's a chief gravity defier. That means he wants to help you get up top. Stay with us. We're going to come back and talk about how David got started and where you need to start your branding. Hey, welcome back to Power Players. Grant Cardone. Every week I bring you someone unselfish enough and interesting enough with enough intelligence to help you get in power. Today I have David Brier. He's a branding expert. Chief Gravity Defyer. I love that tagline, man. His website is risingabovethenoise.com. Risingabovethenoise.com. If you go there, register your information. David's going to send you an ebook on branding. He's given us the definition of branding is, if I have this right, the art of differentiation. Is that right, David?
You nailed it.
David, great to have you on the show, man. David's worked with Rolling Stone Magazine, Trump Organization, New York Times, Jim Henson, Estee Lauder, Revlon, and now Grant Cardone. Man, I can't wait, David, to find out what you would recommend I do different. We'll do that in a minute. First of all, tell me, where is David Brier? How old are you?
I am 56.
Where were you 50 years ago?
I was in New York. I was born in Brooklyn, raised in Queens, and then a little bit of Long Island, and then spent my sort of, basically went to the point of turning 20, I moved to Manhattan.
And how were you brought up? Middle class, rich? What's the deal?
Middle class.
And what were your parents doing?
My father was an entrepreneur. He was very entrepreneurial. He was developing some stuff. He actually was, before he left that, he was a cartoonist that was syndicated very early in his career. And anyway, he left that. I don't exactly know the backstory as to why, but he was of the same generation as Charles Schultz and Peanuts and all those guys. And
oh, wow.
Anyway, but the thing is, that's what he was doing. And my mother was actually working in school. She was actually working in the Board of Ed. Okay.
And what was the influence they were having on you at the age of 6 or 7 or 8? I mean, what was going on for the little David Brier?
I was always interested in anything having to do with art. And we would pretty routinely go over to Greenwich Village every Sunday morning and kind of walk around West Greenwich Village, check out the art festival and the this and the that and the other. And it was reading the New York Times, grabbing bagels and lox. And I mean, that was kind of our thing, our little ritual. And I just loved stuff, anything having to do with art. I mean, so I just drew, and that's the stuff that I was doing.
Yeah. And so when did the branding thing, I mean, you're going to school, I guess. You went to high school in New York.
In college, yep.
Yeah, and you went to college here as well?
Yep.
So what is the transition from boy to teenager to into your college days? What's going on with David Brier?
Well, you know, I was interested in various bits of art. So I was a drummer for a while because obviously that was the in on how to get girls. You know, that was the thing there.
Oh, I didn't know that. I never knew that deal.
Yeah,
I thought the musicians didn't end up with the girls, but in the school I went to, the band members, they were lonely guys.
Maybe they were. I don't know. That was my notion anyway. It was my notion.
Got it.
And so there was that plus being an artist, and basically it was interesting. It was literally the last semester when I went to community college, and before I went on to additional college. But it was the last semester, as I was an art major. I was studying, and I walked into one class, and on the magazine and on one of the desks was this trade publication. You wouldn't know it; it's no longer in existence. But back then, it was this amazing thing printed on newsprint. But it stopped me in my tracks. I had never ever seen a publication like this. It blew me out of the water, and I just was engrossed. And I was looking through it. And I'm looking through it, and I'm like, I had never seen so much attention to every little detail, using the type and the design and the color and everything. It was amazing. And so at that point, literally, it was at that point that I decided I could either be an artist and give my stuff as an artist to an art director, someone who would then lay stuff out, and they would do a great job or they would do a crappy job. But they would do something, but I had no prediction on the outcome. So with this, I was like, wait a second, I can actually now forecast the actual outcome and touch every point of it. So it was excellent. I didn't just hand off one piece, and that was the turning point.
Or what would be a similar magazine today?
There is, to be honest, there really is not a similar magazine. Probably about 10 years ago, when there was about 10 to 12 years ago, when there was a different art director. Fred Woodward was an amazing art director for Rolling Stone magazine, and he won amazing amounts of awards every year. He did an amazing job with Rolling Stone at that time, in that era of Rolling Stone. And so that would have been the closest. Today, man.
I mean, I'm just trying to get a sense of what were you looking at that was like, oh my God, I'm doing that. I remember having moments in my career where I was like, that's the deal I'm going to do right there.
Yeah. Well, it was just put it this way. What this guy did, I'm trying to think of a good analysis. It's almost like this. It's almost like if you were raised in a household where you only heard a certain type of music, like just a very specific, very limited bandwidth of music. Then all of a sudden, you discovered the Beatles.
Yeah, right.
It was like that kind of holy crap moment, and you were like, you had no idea that sound went from this to now all of a sudden. Right. So now, was that a branding? Was that okay? That now this art thing makes a transition to branding now. Totally, because at that point it was like, wait a second, I'm not now just dealing with, because when one is dealing with a communication, like if you and I are looking at a book or magazine, right? There's going to be photography, and there's going to be illustration, and there's going to be type, the actual use of fonts, and there's going to be the writing, and all of that stuff. All of those things combined make for communication that either hits you between the eyes or puts you to sleep, like NyQuil, okay? So the thing is that all of a sudden I was like, wait a second, I can now take all of these elements, because I always enjoyed words. I always enjoyed that element. So I looked at, words, and now I'm going to use, and this guy was doing things with letters and type and how it all came together that I'd never seen done before.
Yeah.
And, put it this way, if your guys want to check it out, they could look this guy up online. His name was Herb Lubalin, Lubalin. That was the designer, and he was a god at that. He was a god. He influenced at least 2 generations of designers. But they could always go online and check out Herb's work.
Yeah, Herb Lubalin. Okay, I'm looking it up right now, so we'll figure that out. So, okay, now you're in college at this time. You're going to get out of college and do what? What's your first job?
Well, I freelanced. That's what I actually did. My mother was saying, hey, you got to get some summer gigs while you're going to college, this, that, the other. And I did the little bit of odd jobs, the little, deli of this or that, blah, blah, blah. But that wasn't where my passion lied. And so what I did was because I then went to School of Visual Arts in Manhattan, and I basically went to the placement office, and I was looking for different gigs, and I started to work with small startup companies. And then I got into, then I
Then
started
he's
doing
going to
stuff.
blow up, start up, and then he's going to blow up. When we come back, David Brier is going to tell you what you need to know about branding and how to get branding and do it right. Welcome back to Power Players. Grant Cardone here. Every week I bring you someone that can put you in power in your life. David Brier is a branding expert. His website is risingabovethenoise.com, risingabovethenoise.com. He's gracious and unselfish enough to offer a free ebook there for you. What's the name of the ebook, David?
It's called The Lucky Brand.
The Lucky Brand. He's done work for...
It's basically 10 branding secrets to basically outperform, outpace, and outlive your competition.
David's he's in the top 10% of people, or top 1% of people on Twitter and Instagram. He's worked with Jim Henson, the Rolling Stones magazine, New York Times. Part of your thing about differentiation with branding. So let's say, I mean, we could either take me or we could take somebody brand new. Let's say somebody's becoming a brand new social media expert, okay? Mm-hmm. David, how do they, what are little simple things? Where do I get started with my brand? Is it a business card? Is it a logo? Is it a website? What do I do first?
Well, all right. So now that's a great question, because here's this mistake that most people make. They go, what should I tackle first? It's like, whoa. Step back. Because the bottom line is here's the sneaky, horrible truth about social media and getting out there. Bottom line is unless you've worked out what you are going to say to the world, the only thing that social media does is if you have like a crappy message and a stupid message, now you've only simply amplified the rapidity with which you can convey your stupidity to more people effectively. So the thing is, you got to work out, what are you going to say? And the way that you do that is doing what I call, you have to assess the noise level. Every industry has a different noise level. Sometimes it's like really like let's say if you go into an industry where everybody's like screaming, pitching, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, well, then you actually are going to take a different tack. You're going to actually be interested and engaged. You're going to take a lower tack. Let's say everyone is, if you got to look at the overall trend, because in all of that, you got to look at the overall trend. That's one part you got to look at. And then here's the other part. Who are you talking to? And the thing about who you're talking to, unless you identify that, you're going blind. And here's the example that I give everybody. They totally get it. Let's say you got a father and a son, and they walk into a car showroom, and there's a nice entry level, beautiful red car, nice, cool, pretty chic looking. All right, good. Father's looking at it. He's kicking the tires. He's going, he's thinking safety rating. He's wondering about miles per gallon. Now, the son, looking at the exact same car as his father, is thinking, chick magnet.
Yeah.
So unless you and I get a real bead, because obviously now, if we're targeting that son, we're going to have a very different message point than if we're targeting the father. So you got to know your space, know who you're talking to, then you work out your point of differentiation, then you've got something to talk about out there.
Yeah, know your space. Know who you're talking to, okay? So let's say, man, I mean, because this is where it becomes very difficult, particularly for a guy like me. I'm trying to reach everybody. Mm-hmm. Now, I mean, not really everybody, because, I mean, but if I can reach a guy, I think there's people I can reach out there that don't even know they need me, right? But the moment they start feeling my energy, they're like, nah, this isn't my guy, I mean, is there a way to use that kind of delivery? Or, I mean, I don't know how to make my website nice and friendly for everybody to want to be with me. Or is that even realistic that I would have everybody like?
No, the bottom line is it's kind of like become a thing where if you're trying to be everything to everybody, you really are diluting everything, and you really kind of almost become meaningless and nothing to nobody. Yeah. I mean, I understand big goals, and you've got to think big. That's vital. But it's like, wait a second. It's like, where do I fit? Because life is busy. Life has all kinds of distractions, all kinds of things. And the thing is that what's my role in the scheme of things? Like, I know when I'm talking to people, I say the bottom line is here's the deal. You're either pigeonholed as a brand. Generally, most companies are. It's like, oh, you're the blah 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 blah. When in fact, and I'll tell you, in this very specific example, I recently rebranded a company that's 100 years old. And when I started talking to them, here's what I found out. The stuff that they were now still known about, they did 80 years ago.
Yeah.
Which represented 80% of their revenue then. Now it represents 15% of their revenue. So 85 of their actual brands today is not even relevant or known about.
Yeah, it's interesting. Rolls-Royce has this issue, right? Because Rolls-Royce, you remember the mustard ad, the Grey Poupon?
Sure.
Dude, they're still stuck with the Grey Poupon ad today. And one of their issues, one of their biggest issues is, Grant, it's not that our customers can't buy our car. They have the money. They can buy in good times and bad times. They don't. It's like the wrong thing to do. As opposed to, he'll go out and pick out a Ferrari and say, I'm just doing this for a little while and not think anything about it. But with the Rolls, it's like they got this branding thing where it's not okay. Different than what the Bentley has underneath that, where it's a little more acceptable. For whatever weird reasons, it's almost the same money.
Yeah.
So
it is the same money, but it's a perception point. I mean, Rolls-Royce, I mean, I would not look at the Rolls-Royce brand and think fun. Bentley, though, has widened its actual offerings where they've got some fun going on.
Right. So how do you tell, do you work mostly with individuals, David, or companies?
I work,
personalities or companies?
I would say majority of companies, but some personalities, but a majority of companies. And from startups to very established companies, the entire gamut.
So let's take a HVAC company, okay? These guys are in Orlando. He's a new guy. He's got a little bit of money. He's got some success. What are know your audience, okay? My audience is residential heating and air. Where do I go from there? I mean, like, walk me through Grant's Air Conditioning Company.
Well, first of all, what's the majority of the industry actually known for? Are there, like, for example, every industry almost always is pigeonholed with certain things. Like if I say to you, lawyer, we all know nobody has positive connotations with lawyers. You think they charge too much, they make things overcomplicated, et cetera. So it's like, what's the overriding thing? Is there a viewpoint about HVAC? Yeah. Okay, that's the first thing. And a great example that I ran into some years ago, the plumbing industry, we all know there's the punchline is you always see plumber crack. Yeah. And they're never quite on time. So the thing is one plumber ended up doing this great promotion that I forget, they actually tied into their name. I don't remember their name, but here was their thing. Part of their whole brand position was that they were on time, and for every minute that they were late, they would actually pay you $5.
Wow, love that.
So that was bang, instantly. It separated them. All made them.
So you're saying the dentist,
everybody else became the same.
Yeah. So the dentist, they're known for being late. I got to sit in the office too long.
That's right.
They try to upsell me to other stuff. X-rays piss me off beyond. Like, I'm like, why am I paying for your X-rays so you can do your job? I thought you were the expert, right?
Yep.
So you're saying actually use the negatives of the industry, the shortfallings of the industry possibly as part of your branding?
That's right, to position yourself above. If everybody's like, we can't stand HVAC because they always do blah, blank.
Yeah.
Bang. Then maybe you become, we're the anti-blank.
Right. So Uber became the anti-taxi, really.
Yep.
And boom, it hits that. And then all of a sudden, Uber's got more value than the taxi cab companies. That makes sense. Yep. So is it different for an individual than it is a company?
Let me give me that again.
Would it be different for Grant than it would be for Cardone Training Technologies?
No, because the thing is, let's say you could say, you know what? There are all these. I don't know what category do you put yourself into as a coach, as a advocate, as a consultant. What's your how do you place yourself?
Well, I mean that's the weird thing, It's like social media, business, real estate. The thing starts going so wide. I'm like, I gotta pick one. Like years ago, what we had to do was we had to literally risk the audience we had to get the new audience.
Yep.
So I was extremely heavy in automotive, helping out automotive dealers, and I was known for that. And I was like, I got to get out of this. I don't want to ignore this, but I got to start sliding over. That was a very, very difficult transition into how do I not abandon what's been good to me and start meeting insurance agents and financial planners and bankers and real estate people?
Yeah. So the thing is you have to kind of find your sweet spot, because obviously, you look at like the sharks are very interesting. Like you get the guys on Shark Tank. The show is well positioned. Each of them is positioned as a shark. So each of them is positioned as, those are the guys that if you want to make a total quantum leap in your trajectory of your business, those are the guys you want to be in contact with. So that's a great position, right? And going back to Daymond was really smart because he jumped on it. He's very smart with how to position himself. His Twitter account and a whole bunch of his sites and such, you got the Shark Daymond. So he immediately positioned himself with that, and it was very smart. That doesn't limit him, but it keeps what's considered valuable right there in the forefront. So that would work for speaking engagements. It would work as an author. It would work as a keynote speaker or whatever.
Yeah. Hey, can you get me on the Shark Tank, man? I'd love to be on that show. So,
me too.
Folks, yeah, right. So, folks, you're listening to David Brier. He's a branding expert, chief gravity defier. Where'd you come up with that, dude? I mean, is that just a cute line or what?
It's an amazing. It's not cute. It's amazing. Cats are cute. This is amazing.
Yeah, you're right.
Chief gravity defier. Well, rising above the noise.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing. See, you see this? This is my first book that I did about five. Well, actually, it was about my fifth book, but it was specifically with this. And this was the whole sort of inspiration that brought it all together: defying gravity and rising above the noise. And when I basically had that and created that, the whole thing of it was, what's my title? I mean, president or creative director. How predictably boring is that?
Right.
But man, I have more people that say chief gravity defier. I love that. Some people are like, I love that.
That's your title, dude. I get it. That like, rather than operating officer, chief gravity defier. Dude, I just got it. So let me see the package again. That packaging is awesome, bro.
This? Yeah, it's a hardcover book. It's not the one. This is absolutely amazing. You and I will have to talk about this, but this is absolutely mind-boggling.
Where can people get that, David?
They can get it on the site when they actually scroll down. They will actually see it. And if your folks, what we'll do is somebody actually responds. They send me an email, say, hey, hook me up, and say I saw you on the Grant Show. Bang, we'll make it. We'll figure something out.
Yeah, good. Okay.
Yeah.
David Brier, branding expert, Rising Above the Noise is the website. You can get a free ebook there. That's a nice offer. What do you sell that book, the beautiful book for?
Well, these are actually made to order.
Okay.
They can literally get this one. They can get this one like for $14. They can order it and download it as an ebook. Or if they actually get the hardcover, this is about $115.
Yeah. It's a beautiful book, dude. It's gorgeous.
Well, the whole thing, I mean, Daymond John's got his copy. I'll tell you right now. But the thing with this is that, this actually this gives you 8 principles and shows you how to use them.
Wow.
Because here's my beef with business books. My beef with business books is I always find, you may find the same thing, I'll find a 250-page business book, and there's 3 pages that have everything, and all the rest is filler to basically explain those 3 pages.
Yeah.
And I can't stand that. So the thing is, my thing was, I'm going to make each and every of these 8 points, I'm going to make each and every one of them 1 page. And then I'm literally going to show you how this was actually applied to all these other companies.
I love that, man. I love that. And I agree with you about the business books. I got filler in my books. No doubt about it, okay? But, I mean, I got some stuff you just don't know what page the good stuff's going to be on.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
So folks,
you can become the author, the first one in terms of business books that actually no filler, just the real stuff.
Yeah, well, I record all my stuff, so I mean, my preference is the MP3s or the downloads or whatever.
Yep.
You've been listening to David Brier today, branding expert, folks. Check out his website, risingabovethenoise.com. David's also a friend of mine. I take him on right now, this second, as a friend. He's a great guy. He's worked with Revlon, Estee Lauder, Jim Henson, Rolling Stone Magazine, New York Times, and the Trump Organization. And I look forward to when David works for you and your brand. David, thanks a lot for being on the show, brother.
Grant, thank you so much for having me. It was a total blast.
Every week, folks, power players, I want one day for you to be on the other side of this camera and let me be interviewing you. My name's Grant Cardone. Thank you for watching Power Players. See you next week.